Hi everyone, I'm Marcy, and today I'm making bolillos. These are Mexican rolls that I grew up eating all the time. They're similar to a French baguette. They've got that crispy outside, but they're really soft in the middle, and they're perfect for sandwiches or alongside any meal. So if you're up for some quarantine baking, hit that subscribe button and let me show you step by step how to make bolillos. All you need for this easy recipe is 4 cups all-purpose flour, 1 tablespoon yeast, 1 tablespoon sugar, 1.5 teaspoons salt, 2 tablespoons oil or shortening, I'm using olive oil, and 1.5 cups water. I should also say you need a little patience too, because even though this is a really easy recipe, you do have to wait quite a bit for the dough to rise and rest. But let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is proof my yeast. I'm using active dry yeast, but you can use instant dry yeast in the exact same amount. Just put it in a bowl, and proofing it just means we're making sure the yeast is still active and going to make the bread rise. So I'm going to add a tablespoon of sugar to give the yeast something to work on. Mix it up a little. Then I'm going to add 1.5 cups of water that is just barely warm or lukewarm to the touch. Yeast is a living organism, so if the water is too hot, it will kill the yeast. I'm going to whisk it and let it sit for about 10 minutes. I'll speed up the video for you, but we should see it bubble up and form a frothy top. If it doesn't, we know the yeast has gone bad, and it's better to find out now before we add it to all the other ingredients and then all that flour goes to waste. But it looks like this yeast is doing exactly what it should. After 10 minutes, it's got sort of a spongy top, so I know it's good. Now I'm going to take the flour that's already in a large bowl, and I'm going to add the salt to it and mix it up. I'll create a little hole in the center of the flour mixture and add the yeast to it. I'm going to mix it really good and then knead it with my hands. Don't be surprised if you need to add a little more water. Just do it a little at a time. I ended up adding about 3 tablespoons more. Now we add the oil and continue mixing with our hands. Then you can take the dough out of the bowl and knead it on a flat surface. It's going to be sticky, but at this point you do not add any flour to the surface. Instead, we're just going to take more time kneading it. You just toss and fold it over about 15 minutes until it's no longer sticky and you've built up the elasticity. If you have an electric mixer with a pastry hook, you can use that. Just make sure it's kneaded until it no longer sticks to the sides and you have a smooth consistency. This is what it should look like. It's way different than what we started with. Now I'm going to grease the bowl. Put the dough back in it and brush a little oil onto the top of the dough so it doesn't dry out. Cover it with a kitchen towel and let it rise for an hour in the warmest part of my home. If you live in a cold climate, you may need up to 2 hours for your dough to rise. I live in Arizona, so mine should rise pretty fast. In 1 hour, my dough has doubled in size, and now I'm going to put a little flour on a flat surface and place my dough on it to knead for a couple more minutes. Then I'll form a flat circle. This makes it easier to divide the dough into equal portions. I'm cutting it into 8ths, sort of like a pizza. These are going to be my individual bolillos. I'll roll them into little balls. And now, with a tiny bit of oil on my fingertips, I'm going to shape them into bolillo shape, which is like that of a football. By the way, the word bolillo just means roll, but it can also be translated as spindle or rolling pin, which it sort of looks like anyway. I'm just pushing down a little more on the ends as I roll it to give it that shape where it's wider in the middle and more pointy on the ends. Once you've got them all on a cookie sheet, brush them with a little more oil, and then cover them and let them rise one last time for about 30 minutes to an hour. Now the timing on this part is kind of important. As your dough is resting those final minutes, preheat your oven to 425. Put water in an oven-safe dish on the bottom oven rack. This is going to create moisture in the oven, and that's what's going to make the crust of the bread crispy while leaving the center soft. So you want to get all of that going before the 30 minutes of rest time is up. Now you're going to cut a slit across the top of each of your bolillos. This is an exhaust for the heat, similar to how you would poke holes in a pie crust. I'm going to spray them with water. If you don't have a clean water bottle, just use your fingertips to splash a little water on there. Put the cookie sheet in the middle oven rack and let it bake at 425 for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, we lower the temperature to 350. Spray them once more with water and let them finish baking another 10 to 15 minutes or until golden brown. When they come out of the oven, cover them and let them cool. These bolillos look perfect, and I'll tell you what, there is nothing like the smell of fresh baked bread in your home. I'm gonna go ahead and break one of these open. See how it's crispy on the outside and soft in the middle? Let's see what it tastes like. That is really good. I can hardly wait to make a sandwich with this. I really hope you try this recipe. Don't be intimidated by the process. It is so worth it. And besides, it's on video, so you can follow along and just hit pause anytime you need to. And then next time you see bolillos at the bakery, you just say, I can make those. Thanks so much for checking out Marcy Inspired. Next week, I'll be showing you a great sandwich you can make with bolillos that involves grilled chicken marinated in fresh pico de gallo and tequila. So be sure to subscribe, like, and click the notification bell because you don't want to miss it. Until then, blessings from my kitchen to yours.